I'll introduce myself first, then I'll pass it over to Guy, then Rachna, and then we'll get the tour started. So, hi everyone. My name is Ash Ishwar. I'm an MBA 2. Right now, I am in Philadelphia, PA. Before joining Ross, I was in New York for about 7 years. I worked for Regeneron Pharmaceuticals in the healthcare space. 5 years in finance, spent 2 years in HR after I created the company's well-being program. For my internship, I decided to go back to pharma, and I did it with GSK, and I'll be accepting their offer to go back full-time to their leadership development program in the commercial department. So that's a little bit about me. Guy, I'll kick it over to you.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm Gui Ruggiero. I'm originally from Sao Paulo, Brazil. So I saw some Brazil popping up in the chat there. I started my career in CPG, but I transitioned to technology, worked for a number of startups in Brazil. The last one was Didi Chuxing, the ride-hailing company, like the giant from China. Came to Ross to work in technology. I want to keep working technology after the MBA. I'm actually a dual degree with the School of Information. So fun fact, I'm graduating this week with the 2 degrees. I'm graduating a little bit early. So happy to answer any, yeah, thanks, Ash. I'm happy to answer any dual degree questions there. Very, very passionate about sports. We'll talk a little bit about it during the tour. Recruiting for product management and technology, as I said. And yeah, that's a little bit about me. I'll pass it on to Rachna.
Thank you, guys. So hi, everyone. Thank you for joining. My name is Rachna Modi. Before coming to Ross, I was in California working in healthcare consulting. So I spent about 8 years with various firms internally with Stanford Healthcare and externally with Accenture. And then I came to business school wanting to shift into retail operations. So I'm also part of the Tauber Institute. If you have any questions regarding Tauber, I'm happy to answer that. For my internship, I did my MAP with Amazon in the retail ops space, and then my Tauber internship with Target. And we'll be going back there full-time in their leadership development program with respect to operations. Yeah, I'm happy to be at Ross. I'm an MBA 2, if I forgot to mention that. And I moved there with my partner. So if you have any questions around moving to Ann Arbor with a partner who is also shifting their jobs, et cetera, I'm happy to answer those questions as well.
Awesome.
So now I think Ash will kick us off with the tour.
Yeah, let's start walking. Love it. Okay, we're going to start the tour actually in Blau and Kresge Hall. So as you get to know, there are 3 main halls. Blau and Kresge is the first one that we're going to start in. It was actually opened in September of 2016, so it is quite new. And you will notice this as you're kind of going through that a lot of the buildings and everything are really well made. They are all LEED certified, so you will see a lot of like lighting options and natural light coming in, which is a really great feeling. The building has like 4 floors of classrooms. You, as an incoming student, you'll typically be in the winter garden at first, and you'll see that a little bit later. But as you start to take some of your elective classes, you'll move more into here. The classroom styles can be really easily adjusted. Like you guys just saw just in the building or the room right before this, there's a lot of movable tables and stuff, and they'll use that to best suit the lesson plan, which is really nice. And also every single class has already been fitted for both online and offline learning. So I can tell you as a student right now that's been in Philly for the last year, it's been really easy to actually take the classes, and having seen one year to another, it's actually been a really great transition. So Ross was actually prepared for this well ahead of time with their online program that you can access as an alumni. So their transition has been really nice. Right now we are in the 710 coffee shop. It's an opportunity to grab some coffee, some food. There are areas to study and link up with your groups. Also, there have been some coffee chats over there. I've definitely sat with McKinsey, Accenture, so on and so forth. Pro tip, if you go to Starbucks, you can actually get, if you buy your coffee in the morning, you can get a refill for 50 cents and 10 cents off if you bring your own mug. So if you are a little thrifty like I am, that's definitely an opportunity, and you get double stars. Not that I'm a salesman for them or anything, but something just to put out there. Now we've kind of walked into the Impact Studio. This was actually being built when I first joined. So it is brand new, and it's really, really cool. It's basically a really great collaborative space. And you're gonna find a lot of collaborative spaces at Ross. It's one of the big things that they'll tout. And here is a really great example of it. it's actually an area in which students from different disciplines will kind of get together and try and solve some of the biggest problems that are out there. And they're really using like a lot of business acumen, design strategies, so on and so forth, that are really amazing to actually sit with everybody during that time and kind of hear how everyone else thinks. Also, a lot of clubs that I've been in have hosted events in there. So definitely an area to check out. Now we are walking on the second floor, and we're right now going to pass the career development office. This is an area in which you'll find career coaches. You'll have, let's see, like you have your interview rooms in there and stuff. My suggestion to you, sit down with the career advisors as fast as possible. It was one thing that I definitely pushed off for a while. I had a lot of anxiety about somebody telling me that I was not going to be doing well or anything. They are fantastic. They're an incredible amount of help. So definitely meet with them earlier than later. Right now, we're looking at some of the maker spaces. On each and every single floor, there is a different space that's just like that. So opportunities to get together, use a whiteboard, study, and even in some of those areas are a little bit of like quiet space studies. You do have the center's offices there. So like the Sanger Leadership Center, Center for Positive Organizations, ZLI, WDI, Tauber, they're all in that area. So something to think about. We have now walked over to the second floor of the Winter Garden. So this is an area in which, especially as a first year, you'll probably spend a good chunk of your time. You have your Robertson Hall in here. You have a lot of open spaces for everyone to be able to connect. Also, it hosts the classrooms in which you'll start to have as your first year. Because as your first year, you're going to be together in your sections. There are 5 major sections. Section 5 is the best. So it's just something to kind of keep in mind. And if you don't get in, yikes, that's going to suck for you. But you're going to have about 80 or so students in each section. And it's an opportunity to really get to know your class on a little bit of a personal level, because trust me when I say this, it's going to sound amazing to have about 400 students in your class, but it is overwhelming, especially to want to get to know everyone, especially when everyone is so amazing and they're wonderful people. Being in your sections, you'll have your section event like mystery night, small group dinners. You'll also have a lot more study groups and so on and so forth with each and every single one of you, just because you will be in the same classes together and you will be following your core classes together. So that's something a little bit about that. Here's an opportunity to actually see the Winter Garden itself. With some positive news coming about the vaccine, this is really exciting. I think a return to campus is starting to become a little bit more concrete and realistic. So really exciting there. You'll see that place be really populated. Here is the general classrooms that you'll find in the Winter Garden. So as you can see, very spaced out right now. So there are opportunities to be in class even when we are in remote learning. And as you can see right there, the professor has a massive screen in which you could see everybody online. And I can tell you, seeing the hybrid format, the online format, and actually being in person, the learning opportunities there are fantastic and very easy to manage. Here is Siegel, which is one of the cafeterias out here. I believe actually there's a master chef that runs the entire thing. So that's really cool. On a personal note, I have found it to be a little expensive, especially being a student. So having it every single day was a little bit tough, but to keep in mind, walking off campus to go get food, there's not that much time, especially between your classes. So bringing food from home actually helped. On the first floor of Kresge and Blau Hall, when we just were, there are microwaves and stuff and refrigerators. So, if you do want to do that is an opportunity for you there. And I think that actually takes care of most of the stuff that I will talk about. So I'm going to actually pass it off to Rachna. But remember, in this time, put your questions in the chat and we will try and type them as fast as we can. So Rachna, I'll pass it off to you for Tazi.
Perfect. So you can see we're going down to the basement of Ross. And on your left, you'll see the Tazi Trading Center. And this is one of the first trading floors at a business school. It's a very large scale trading floor. As you're walking by, you'll see kind of some of the financial information pop up on the screens. And it's open to all Ross students. And once you accept and you're an admitted student, you'll get an email with training sessions. So feel free to join one of those training sessions. They're free. It's an opportunity for you to learn how to use some of the resources offered on the trading floor. So I'm pausing periodically just so it's not frozen. I just wanted to make sure that people can get a view of the space. Next, we're walking towards, so we're still in the basement, we're walking towards the fitness center. There's lockers here on the right-hand side. If you wanted to have a locker close to the fitness center, this is your opportunity to do so. Inside the fitness center, it's fully equipped with weights, yoga mats, elliptical centers, nutritionists, and personal trainers. So they're all the staff members are fully professionals, and they coach you on your nutritional habits, exercise plans, etc. And this fitness center, the cool thing about it is it's only open to Ross and law students. So if you want a space that's kind of limited in membership capacity, this is your opportunity to do so. So you'll kind of see the equipment. It's a good space to kind of get away from the rush of the larger fitness centers. Okay, so we're going to walk out of the fitness center. So again, this is still the basement of Ross. I remember doing a lot of group projects in this basement. It's kind of a quiet space in the basement area. So now we're going to the 6th floor of the Ross building. This is personally one of my favorite areas in the building. It's on the 6th floor. You can kind of see the big house from here. I have a lot of memories attending networking sessions while recruiting for my Tauber internship. We had a lot of companies come up, set up their floor space in the big colloquium area, and then we used to network kind of in a speed dating format to meet everyone. So the space is really beautiful. If you want a little bit of a quiet time, I usually came up here to eat lunch or just hang out with friends by the window area. We also hosted our Design Plus Business Conference here, and then the large Tauber Global Operations Conference. And then you'll see right now, because of COVID, it's set up as study spaces. So when we go in, you'll see a lot of desks spread apart for students to come in and just kind of study in a socially distant manner. But it's a beautiful space for a lot of guest speakers to host their events. Ash mentioned the 2-hour job search. So that speaker had come in here and hosted his session in this amazing venue. You can see the sun coming in through these large windows. I remember when I was attending GBR, Professor Meyer had hosted his Good Life session in here. So just an amazing space for professors, guest speakers, clubs to host various events. I see a question with the big house. It's the football stadium that the football games are played at. So now we're going downstairs to the Robertson Auditorium. And I can say that Robertson hosted some of my favorite events. So as a perspective, I remember sitting in one of these seats. I was attending the Women in Leadership Conference, and it was just an amazing time hearing a bunch of student speakers. Ross had set up a TED Talk style event where all the student speakers were talking about their experience at Ross. I'm just gonna pause it just for a second. So in the Robertson Auditorium, it's a very large space. As an MBA 1, I attended a lot of story lab presentations where student speakers are talking about their experience. It can be personal, it can be school related, etc. But it's a space for us to come together and watch these events. The founder of Boom Chicka Pop came during the marketing symposium, so that was a really awesome event. And then I've also attended a number of corporate presentations with Deloitte, McKinsey, Amazon, since it's a large space for a lot of students to gather. So I'm gonna now pass it off to Gui to do a few campus highlights.
Awesome, thank you. If you could pause sometimes for me to talk a little bit more about some places, that would be fine. Great. Okay, so one of the best things about Ross is the location, right? It's extremely close to a lot of stuff that you will cover here. The first one is the Law Quad. So the Quad is quite across the street. So this is like we're exiting from the entrance, and the quad is exactly across the street there. The old building on the right, you can see right in the center there. It's just well, it's the law school, one of the best law schools in the country, and there's an amazing kind of garden in the middle, and it's great to you kind of go through it to go downtown and to go to State Street. Well, we'll talk next, but it's just so great to go there in the Four Seasons, right? So you go in the summers, a lot of people just laying in the grass and doing stuff there, or there's a little bit more of a fall colors. Over the winter, it's super white, so it's super cool to go around there. Ross is super close, not only from the law school, but also the School of Education, the Ford School of Public Policy, and the School of Social Work. So it's extremely close to a number of other schools and to the Diag, which I think we'll go through, which is the main square of the University of Michigan. I think it is a good opportunity to talk real quick about dual degrees. So there we do have some JD MBAs. So people are doing MBA and law, so JD with it. I'm a Master of Science in Information with the School of Information. There are a number of people that do HERB with the School of Sustainability, Cs, and JD MBAs, MD MBAs with the med school. So definitely feel free to reach out if you want to talk a little bit more about dual degrees. We have, I think the University of Michigan has one of the universities that has the most schools in the top 10. So it's an amazing opportunity to do a top MBA with a super good another degree, right? So School of Information, for example, is top 3 in the country. So it's an amazing opportunity. I see on the chat coming up there, so happy to talk more about it. After walking out the law quad, you walk a little bit north. There's downtown Ann Arbor, which is the kind of the State Street district. This is actually East Liberty. I think we're walking down, right? And Ash and Roshana, please help me if you see something different. But I think that's State Street with the Michigan Theater. So there's a number of things down that street. That's kind of going there. It's you pass on State. That's actually that's East Liberty. So going there, the street that you see down there on the State Theater. It's the State Street where the M Den is, and a bunch of other restaurant, and the Diag is. The State Street, the State Theater is a nonprofit. It has a lot of a complimentary programming with like old school movies. Super cool there. The Michigan Theater, where we just we were just looking at it. It's like a vintage theater, plays independent movies. I went to a Easter service there, so it's kind of like some cool things to do with both theaters. There's a bunch of like Necto, which is a very important quote unquote like nightclub. A lot of Ross events happen at Necto, so it's right there when we were. This is that's the M Den that I talked about. It's kind of on the way to the School of Information, so I Chipotle a number of times. Let me see. I think we're walking south probably now, and then we'll be able to see the Diag and so there you go. Like across the street, there's a Diag, like a huge square, the main square of the University of Michigan. There's an M on the floor. You shouldn't step on it because it gives you bad luck. So everyone that walks around there, they just jumps the M. There's a nice story about that. So that's Nichols Arcade. We're kind of going west now, and there's this like nice arcade with a variety of specialty shops, a kind of historic architecture, as you can see. So it's just fun to grab a coffee and walk around. When my mom came to visit, we would just walk there, and it's just like nice. There's some like old vintage stuff stores, some coffee shops. I think there's even a tech, more of a techie store, and a barber shop or something like that. So that's cool. I don't think we'll see it in the video, but right when we get out of that street, through that door, there's a street, and across the street there is a Skeeps, like Scorekeepers. That is the quintessential bar with the happy MBA happy hour every Thursday. Very, very fun. So hopefully next year when you guys are here, we get to. I won't promise see each other because I'll probably not going to be in Ann Arbor anymore. But it's a very fun experience to just hang out with the other MBAs and be a little bit social and meet new people and have some fun. And on Thursday night, Fridays, MBAs usually don't have classes, and so it's a very fun night to have on Thursdays. So now we're going all the way to like more west to the main street, which is a little bit far away from Ross, but it's not far. I would say like 10, a little bit, maybe a tiny bit more minutes walking. I actually live at Hill Street, which is main street to Main. So very nice place, a bunch of restaurants and breweries there. That's where I think it's less of a campus feel and more of a like regular town feel, let's say, with a lot of bars and restaurants. These days they're using the street to put a lot of tables, so that's super nice. Some highlights there, and guys will help me here, but Frida Batidos, I got my map here to give some examples. Lo-Fi, there's a restaurant that I love there, which is Cosmos, which is bibimbap. I don't know, just a number of restaurants there. One thing that I like the most about Ann Arbor is it's a rather that's a kind of a small town, right? There's 120,000 people, but the food scene, like the restaurant scene, is definitely in a town that it would be like larger than that. A lot of good restaurants for foodies. It's a great place to be. I specifically love beer, good beer, and Michigan is one of the states with the most amount of craft breweries and small breweries, and a lot of them have bars or pubs in Ann Arbor in that region. So that's really, really nice if you like that things. That's Fleetwood Diner. They do have some nice hippie hash, and actually Cosmos is right next door. Oh, there it is. Let me see what else I can say. So yeah, definitely the Grotto, super cool place to have some beers. Definitely a nice place to hang out and just go out. There's some nightclubs as well, and pubs and bars. So that's kind of more a city feel, like downtown feel, than close to the central campus. Let me see what else I can say here. Oh, well, some fun facts about Ann Arbor. It's the number, so some rankings that came out recently. Number 1 most educated city in America. Number 2 in the top 100 places to live, which is, I mean, I can attest to that. I came from a very big city, lived in some other places, so that's a very nice place to live. Number 1 best college sports city, and we'll talk a little bit about that next. And anyway, it's just a very nice place to live. I really like it. Let's talk a little bit about sports, and I feel that I'm very. I really like to talk about it because I played tennis for a number of years, and I'm a very, very passionate about sports. And I wanted to be in a city that kind of had that feel with sports, and like you value that, not only like the city itself, the community. And I think I found it in Ann Arbor and Michigan. I think that, and I'm here, I'm talking about sports overall, but I think the object or the place that kind of embodies it all is the Michigan Stadium. We call it the Big House. An announcer back in the days called it Big House, and it's stuck. It is the largest football stadium in the U.S. I think second in the world. Official capacity 107,000 and change, but it's not uncommon to see more than 110, 115,000 people on game days. It's just a fantastic experience to go there and watch Michigan. Maybe not recently because our team kind of sucked this year, losing left and right. But on my first 2 years at least, it was very cool to go there and see them performing. Well, game days are a very cool experience with tailgates. Everyone is out and about. You see an impressive number of parents, just like Michigan alumni coming back to town and setting their tailgates and just hanging out. They get the golf course. I don't think we'll be able to see the golf course. I think it was just on the left, and they kind of do like tailgates, the whole tailgate, the whole golf course. It's very, very sweet and very, very, very cool experience. I think Ann Arbor overall is an impressive like sports scene, as I said, like you see people running around all the time. I'm part of the Michigan club tennis team, so I'm happy to talk about sports overall, also in a university level. And I think that is it. We do have a lot of time for questions, so we're very excited about that. And yeah, I'll pass it on to Ash to maybe moderate that.
Sure, absolutely. One thing I just wanted to say about the downtown before we move off of that, Guy mentioned Necto and how there would be some of the parties in the nightclubs. I think one of the really cool things to mention is that a lot of our like diversity days are going to be there. So Diwali will be there, Afro beats, Latinx, stuff like that. And I've danced professionally for an Indian style of dance called Bhangra. I've performed all around the world. And my favorite performance ever in my entire life was performing at Necto in front of 800 fellow students. Everybody in our class was wearing Indian clothes. Like I had never seen anything like that in my entire life. It is a phenomenal time. And one thing also to mention is, I mean, the downtown area, it has everything you would need for being a student, because no matter which way to put this, you're going to have a lot going on. I used the term drinking out of a fire hose when I worked for a hypergrowth company. And then I got to school and I was like, oh, that's what that term means. There's going to be so much going on that the downtown is going to be great for the time that you do have to be able to go out there. And you will also find a lot of school-sponsored activities going on in the downtown area. For example, I'm on Michigan Businesswomen. We do sponsor some small group dinners for our allies at Mountie. You will find a bunch of like recruiting events that will be hosting things out there where you'll be able to go there and eat some really good food, really high class for free, which is like the best thing in the entire world. So there's all of that. And yeah, I just wanted to put that out there. But yes, why don't we take a look at some of the questions. I see that some of these are directed at people. So maybe I can actually pass a couple to y'all while we're doing this. I saw one for Rachna and I wanted to get us kicked off with that first. Or did that just go away? Guy, I see one for you. Can you share your journey in Ross for a career in product management? Specifically, the elective, summer internship, and MAP projects taken. Great question.
Yes. Okay, so my first year was just an MBA, so not just an MBA, but I was doing just the MBA, and then I joined the also the School of Information degree. Because of that, my first year was pretty much a vanilla MBA. First year, which is all the core, right? I think I took one elective, which I was allowed to, but the first year is pretty much core. So with regards to specifically to product management, at least on like for the most part, I took stuff in the School of Information because of the dual degree, not because Ross doesn't have the classes that can help you with that, but because I had more stuff, tech stuff at the School of Information because of the degree. Two things here. One, even if you're doing an MBA, you can take classes out of Ross. I think the limit, I think you can take up until 8 or 9 credits. So you're more than welcome to take advantage of all the other schools if you want to. And two, I did 1 or 2 electives this year now that I think helped me in product management. The one that I just finished in second part of fall now, which is new product and innovation management. Very nice course which touches on a bunch of frameworks on how to foster and organize innovation, let's say, because it is something that creativity is a little bit all over the place, but also you can organize it and do it in a certain way that it helps. So there's definitely a nice course. We have the tech club that helps a lot with resources to learn about product management. And I mean, as pretty much every answer, MBA 2s, MBA 3s, and alumni, right? Rely on a lot of those people and to learn about the craft and to position yourself in a way that you're able to understand what you need to do as a product manager and interview. Obviously, MAP helps a lot. I did the MAP in a startup, and the internship also I did as product manager, which also gives you a little bit of mileage to learn the craft and to be able to recruit for that position. So happy to talk more about that. We'll share our emails in the end, but overall, I think that's it.
Yeah. Thanks, we appreciate it. And yeah, of course, at the end of this, we will share our emails with everyone. And also, you could find us on the Student Ambassador website on Ross as well. So we're definitely available for that. Rachna, I want to toss a question your way from Christine. It's a great question. How has your experience changed from the first year when it was in person to now with hybrid and or virtual? Has it impacted your networking opportunities and recruiting for first years?
So yes, happy to take that question. I will say all of us were kind of hit with the changes needed for COVID pretty rapidly. So I was an MBA too. It was around MAP kickoff time where a lot of the changes were happening with COVID and moving to a remote learning platform. I will say Ross has done a really good job, and Ross as a whole excels in being transparent and in its communication strategy. So the whole time we were fully aware of what the leadership team was thinking about, how they were approaching to the changes needed for COVID. We had weekly communication emails come out of the meetings that are happening with the dean and his leadership team. So I will say they've done a good job in making those shifts pretty rapidly. In terms of networking and recruiting, so as an MBA too, I was recruiting even though I had an offer from my summer internship. And I will say it does put a hindrance on not being able to have those water cooler conversations that you would have in an in-person event. But knowing that everyone is going through this as a community, it helps give folks a little grace when it comes to meeting people in an online platform and being able to make those connections remotely. People are more open to answering questions through email and setting up virtual Zoom calls. So I will say, because all of us are kind of going through this together, there's an understanding that it's hard, and we need to give each other a little grace. So I wouldn't say it's been impacted my networking or recruiting strategies, but I was able to still make those successful connections online.
Thanks, Rachna. Appreciate it. All right, I'm going to take a question from Mitchell. It's after the tour. Do you mind talking about the experience for spouses or raw students that will be relocating to Ann Arbor? And Rachna, jump in, please, if you'd like. So I did come with a partner. She actually was doing her fellowship at Mott's Children. And I think one of the best things that I found is that I would constantly be making the mistake of thinking that a partner was a student, because I would see them so often at so many events and even in the Winter Garden that I would walk up to them and start asking them about a class, and they'd be like, nope, it's my partner that actually is part of the program. And I think that just goes to show just how involved partners can be in pretty much everything. I'd say that there are some clubs, like your very dedicated professional clubs, in which no entry is involved, but pretty much everything else that we do, partners are going to be a part of it. I mean, my wife actually had my schedule before I did when I first started, and I was like, oh, like classes are going to be really intense, and she's like, no, you'll have this time during this time. I was like, how do you even know that? If you are coming with a partner, I think you most likely will end up looking at, this is going to tack on to somebody else's question about like accommodations. There are a few major areas in which a lot of students will live. Of course, you're open to live wherever you'd like. People live in Ypsilanti, they live a little bit off campus, but a lot of students will tend to live between the Yard and Woodbury. And I actually lived in Woodbury, so you can check them out on Google Maps. And we're actually trying to do a little like online thing for that. But when I lived there was about 120 Rossers that were living at Woodbury. It's got a lot of space. It's a little bit more of a townhouse kind of looking area. It's got a pool, dog park, tons of like barbecue pits all over the place with actual green grass, which was really, really nice. And it's got a private shuttle to and from Ross. And I think one of the really cool things there is that area being a lot of like families and stuff, my wife was able to connect with a lot of partners that I wasn't friends with during my time at Ross. Like, not that I wasn't friends with them, but like I didn't really know them that well. And so I think that just goes to show that, she didn't really need to make a friend off of somebody that I already knew, which I think speaks volumes, especially if you get to know us. I'm the extrovert, she's the introvert. So that was like really, really exciting also, that she would be excited to go to events, because typically that kind of stuff would never happen when we were in New York ever. So that's like trying to tack on two questions at once. But also one thing to note about Woodbury, one of the greatest things is on Saturday, opening up your window or your door, and if you're a little bit late to the game, you can hear the roar from the stadium. It's that close, right next to everything. And no matter where you would tend to live, it's about a 10 to 15 minute walk to campus. And I had a bike, so I would get there in like 5 to 6 minutes easy without a problem. So hopefully that tacked on a couple of questions. I see also one from Colin saying, are there resource and support groups available for spouses of MBA students? Yes, most definitely. There is the Partners Club. There's also like Outdoors Club has a lot of partners involved. There are a lot of partners actually that hold board positions on a lot of our clubs. So like the bus tailgating, it's half partners. Outdoors Clubs had a bunch of partners. And I think also what's really cool is the partners are very gender neutral. So it's not that there's one specific gender that's more involved in the Partners Club than another. It is very equitable all the way across the board. And one thing that's really, really nice. So hopefully out of that, Rick, is there anything you want to know?
Let me segue here. So people are asking about on-campus housing. So there is on-campus housing for grad students, which is Munger. You can look it up. I think someone sent in the chat a link, but you can also Google it, Munger Graduate Residences. So a bunch of people live there. But most of the MBAs, I would say, live off campus, which is some of the places that Ash said. So Woodbury, the Yard, 618, and they're all super close. So another question here. Munger, I think, is 7-minute walk. My house is around the corner from 618, and the Yard, which is like a 10-12-minute walk, super close. Woodbury is a little bit farther away, which is what, a 20-minute walk, but like with a bike or a car, or even the bus, the school bus, which is free for students, it's extremely quick. So the majority of students do live off campus, but it's super close to downtown and to the school.
Great point. Thank you. All right, there's a question up on top here that I'd like to toss to y'all. You mentioned there are no classes on Fridays. This is from Fabian. What have you been doing what have you all been doing with that day after all? Anybody want to take that?
Yeah, I can chime in here. So yes, there's no class on Fridays, but a lot of the recruiting events happen on Fridays. So you need to make sure you're preparing for those. It's also an opportunity for you guys to meet as a group. So a lot of your classes will have group work. So because Friday is a day of no classes, it's easier to coordinate group meetings, etc. So it's not a free day, but I would say it does give you a little bit of a breathing room to step apart from your lectures and lecture notes and just kind of focus on group work and recruiting.
Yeah, definitely a second on the group work, because you're going to find there's a lot to be done. And with Friday, Saturday, and Sunday being your only real free days, and then during football, like Saturdays sometimes are kind of a little bit blocked off for football, and everyone kind of has that culture there. And Sundays could be your big club events. You will find your days are going to be packed. So there will really be no free days. I think this break that we're in right now as an MBA too is the first like real break that I'm getting like since we joined. So it's intense.
I'll echo that.
It's a lot of fun though. Every single step of it is going to be amazing. And I can't even believe in MBA too. Time has really flown by. Quick one I can answer right away. How do you get around from Jonah? Is a car a necessity? Car is absolutely not a necessity unless you really want to be able to go to Trader Joe's and only shop there. And I do, so I do have a car. But it is absolutely not a necessity. Even when you're going out for events to hang out with your section, you're either just going to walk or you can Uber, and it's all very, very cheap. So no need for a car.
Sorry, Ash. Someone asked about Walmart, if there's Walmart there. So just to piggyback on your answer, yes, Walmart, Target, Best Buy, I don't know, pretty much anything you might need, there is around it. Of course, not downtown, right? So a little bit far removed, but people usually just organize rides. Like it's a strong community. So I would go with a bunch of friends, roommates, just like, hey, let's go to Costco on Sunday, and we'll all go there and do our shopping and just come back. So everything that you might need. I cannot think of a big enough retailer there's not around. And even small things like SoulCycle, Orange Theory, I don't know, a bunch of stuff that you've seen usually larger towns, because it's such an important college town. It's all there.
Yeah. All right. I hope I get the name right. Ola Kunle had a really good question about, it just shifted down a little bit. Hang on, let me get to it. Talking talking about like sports clubs and stuff. And I also see another club question on here about the ski club and student clubs and stuff. So maybe we can jump into that a little bit. There are a lot of social clubs. So I can tell you, I'm right now one of the co-presidents for our soccer club. And one of the amazing things that we get to do twice a year is we link up in LA and in Austin. LA is in November and Austin is in February. And basically everybody from the T20 business schools will get together for a massive tournament. And it's a lot of fun. I mean, you're playing Stanford, you're playing Wharton, you're playing, God, I can't even remember who else. It's Texas, Michigan, Booth, MIT. Everybody gets together and it's a lot of fun. And I hope this doesn't come across like too salesman-like, but I think one of the coolest things I saw is that, and feel free to push back on this, Ross had the greatest diversity on our team, without a doubt. Gender-wise, racially-wise, it was just amazing to see. And for us, it was more about going to LA and having fun at the Airbnb and on the field as well, than to just be there specifically for the game. So it was a really, really great time to be able to bond with everyone and have some incredible memories. Somebody also asked about the ski trip. Ski club. There is Boyne, and there is a like a winter like break kind of event as well. But I'll talk a little bit about Boyne. Boyne is basically 800 of students, partners, all going up to a ski lodge. We take over the entire thing and spend a weekend up there with each other. Risky Business, which is also one of the student bands, which when I say student band, sometimes people think like, oh, this is a little small. The auditions to get into Risky Business, I think, would be harder than to get into Ross. Like, it is one of the most difficult organizations to get into. The auditions are super difficult. And when you get up there and you watch them perform, you're like, oh, okay, that's amazing. I didn't realize so many people were so incredibly talented that they probably could have been artists if they weren't going to business school. So there are like there's your Amazing Brew, there's a lot of other different organizations, and they'll get together to collaborate on different things. So in terms of like your social clubs and your student clubs, there's a great wide variety that's out there. And I saw somebody ask a question about how many is too many to join. Do one of y'all want to jump in on that? Because I did like 8 or 10, and that's been kind of rough. Guy, I'll toss it to you. What do you think?
Yeah, I think there's a difference between joining and just in participating, right? Like going to events, which is like you can join as many as you want. Beer club, wine club, a lot of social clubs. But then another thing is like getting some the like on the leadership of those clubs, and then you're organizing all the events, and then you're doing way more, right? And then there's definitely like not spreading yourself too thin to be able to do good work. So I guess it depends on what you mean by joining, right? Joining too many. I join a bunch, but not necessarily as leadership, just like know more people, which is one of the goals of MBA anyway, and decompress when I wanted to in different settings with different people. I did not join any, other than a ski club, I didn't join any sport-related clubs, which is interesting given my sports background, but because I was playing tennis for Michigan and the club tennis team, and then it was kind of like all the sports part was all taken care of. But there's definitely a bunch of stuff there that we can all do.
Awesome. Fantastic. Jigger is asking about, can you elaborate on MAP, asking to understand the breadth of the projects. Rachna, do you want to tackle that first?
Yeah, sure. So when the list of MAP projects come out, you'll see that there's hundreds of projects on that Excel spreadsheet that they'll distribute. And it kind of meets everyone's needs of if you're looking for a small startup, there's small startup projects. If you're looking for big names like Amazon, Microsoft, DoorDash, there's projects with those companies as well. So depending on what you're looking for, it will tailor to everyone's needs. And there's a ranking process. So once you have some chance to look through the projects and kind of filter down to what you want to get experience in, you'll start ranking your projects. And then based on your ranking and your little snippet that you put in as why you would be a good fit for that project, the MAP office will match you based on your input. So personally, because I was coming from healthcare and wanted to shift into retail operations, I ranked all of the Amazon projects as my number one because I wanted Amazon on my resume. And I was able to get my top choice, so that worked out. And I was happy to be doing a project for Amazon for the MAP internship. But I would say the breadth is there for anyone looking for any kind of experience.
To add on to that, one thing you'll notice at Ross is the program office does a really, really good job of understanding who you are as a person holistically. And every group you get put into, and whether it's in class or in MAP, there's a really great diversity factor that's thought about. So you'll find people in your MAP project who are very well versed in what you're about to do, and people who have absolutely no idea. And it's the exact same thing when you get to like your marketing classes and you have group projects, and when you get to strategy, there's always a shift of everybody who's in there. So they do kind of keep that in mind when they are putting together your MAP teams. But like from everyone that I've heard, I mean, I got my first choice. Everybody gets a choice that they're very, very happy with. I don't think I've ever met anybody who is unhappy with their MAP project. All right.
Let me answer what just while you were talking. I was looking questions here. Karishma, I think. I would love to know if there's a way to initiate conversation with current students other than email, better than a cold email. I think it's a very important question to answer here. Email them, really. Everyone that is in the student ambassador has been applied to be there and was accepted to be a student ambassador. So we're always there to like reply to those emails and schedule some chats and talk about it. We're happy to do it. We are one of those people like here because we like it, right? We like to do it. So don't be afraid. They will reply back as soon as they can. So for example, now end of the semester, holidays, might be a little bit more busy. But I just replied to an email today, for example, and I schedule a call for next week. So don't be afraid. Just reach out to people. They'll reply back.
Great point. I like this tandem thing. That definitely helps. All right. There's a question on, can you take from Omer, can you take a year-long internship while attending a full-time Ross MBA? I don't believe so. This might be a good question for Lindsay, Rachel, or Brian, but as far as your 2-year program, it's pretty set in stone, at least for the first year. You have your core classes that you're going to need to take. I don't know if there's an opportunity to take a full year internship or to really switch things up. Like I see also there's another question from Samantha. Can you like go for a PhD? I think you would need to complete the program before you would need to go for something higher, or maybe look to do your internship or a year-long internship at the end. Brian, I see you came off mute.
Yeah, I'm happy to jump in. I'd almost throw it back on MBAs. Do you feel like you'd have time to do a full-time internship while you're doing your program?
Absolutely not.
Yeah, usually my answer is there's just not enough time. I mean, there's barely enough time to do, between academics, social and club stuff and recruiting to get all that in. So I've never seen someone do that. I will say second year, sometimes you'll have more, you have more flexibility than you do kind of in that first year, but it's a 14-hour day, 6-day a week type schedule, I would say, on average. And you all brought that up. Saturdays are kind of the chill day, but even Sunday is really busy. So it's just really difficult to fit other things in.
Brian, let me ask that question one more way, just in case it was different. Like once somebody finishes their first year, can they take a full year-long internship and then go into their second year? So almost like delayed? Is something like that possible?
There are ways to like withdraw. That's the thing. Like you'd have to withdraw and then come back. I've seen people that have had to take a year off. Typically, though, people are trying to finish in that 2-year time frame. But I'd say to contact admissions with the specifics, and we'd probably be able to share more.
Also, one thing I saw some people that had internships in startups, and then they just loved what they were doing, and coming back for the second year, they kept doing some of it part-time. So I saw that happening with some students. Again, it's a time management nightmare because you want to work, you want to do whatever you were doing with the startup, but it's like you don't have time because you need to focus on everything else. But I've seen that happening. And important point here, that's for American students or permanent residents, right? I'm an international student, and internationals cannot work outside of like the very specific days of the internship and that kind of stuff. So that's important.
I've seen one instance where someone started in the 2-year program, and to Guy's point, got got a job in between that first and second year, and then finished up that second year in the part-time program. So I mean, there is some flexibility. You just want to talk through your specific situation with someone in academic services or something of that nature. And really, actually, after you get in, that's probably the best time to do that, because that then you have a lot behind you, and now you're just looking forward.
There are two questions about this. So real quick, you can start at Ross and apply for a dual degree. Most of the dual degrees, you can apply during your first year and then start as a dual degree in the second year. You need to check on the dual degrees website with like all the requirements, because sometimes you need to start in one school except for the other. Like there are some rules there, but yeah, I did that. So I started at Ross, and then on the second year I came back as a dual degree.
There's a question here from Lou. Depending on one's background, would you recommend taking any pre-Ross courses, maybe some to refresh certain skills that haven't been used since undergrad? It's a good idea. I mean, if you really feel like in a certain area you have absolutely no idea and you feel very uncomfortable and it's causing you anxiety, then yeah, maybe. But I will say that, at least for someone who's like never taken marketing before in my entire life, or microeconomics, anything like that, the courses start from the beginning, even though they are very, very fast. I mean, like in 7 weeks, you will learn the entire piece. You will have also classmates to be able to ask things off from, and it's also a lot of action-based learning, right? So you're going to be learning things about like cases and stuff that you just wouldn't really be able to learn in a course as well as this one. It really, it falls down to you. But for me, my personal advice is, when you do start, it's going to be a lot of work. From day one, it's going to be a lot of work. So if you're putting extra work on yourself before you even get there, and you get no time to just really relax before this starts, you might be getting yourself into a situation where you're burning out a little faster, and that's not great, because you want to have, it's a stamina. Business school is a stamina. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. So my suggestion would be, yeah, maybe look at a Coursera thing, maybe a couple of YouTube videos. But as far as doing something like pretty intense, like taking an actual course, I don't know if there would be super great value to it, but to each their own.
Ash, just to chime in here, once you get in and the program office gives you the summer coursework, they'll suggest some courses that you may want to take to refresh your math skills. So that is one venue that I explored when I was, I had quit my job, was in the time period between moving to Ann Arbor and actually starting Ross. So I did take a refresher course on just some math skills. So that's an option. But as Ash said, I wouldn't put yourselves into a really intense coursework before starting school.
We do have a hard stop in a couple of minutes, so I'll take one question here while Ash picks the last one, and then we'll wrap it up. Someone asked about leadership development programs. So at Ross, Ross and larger in Michigan has this thing called Sanger Leadership Center. I'm part of it. I'm part of their student alumni board. So I'm very happy to talk more about this offline. But in some, it's our leadership center at Ross, and which organizes a bunch of events and a bunch of leadership developing programs. Story Lab that Roshana mentioned when she was walking by Robertson Auditorium is one of the programs. So we definitely encourage you to research a little bit more about Sanger Leadership Center. And I'm happy to talk more about that offline.
Yeah, looking at this, we have about 1 minute. Okay, why don't we jump into this, because this might be a little bit more applicable to everybody. Can you share your class experience prior to COVID? I can tell you, or actually there's a question I hear that was like a typical day. So let's talk about that. Typical day is you have your set courses, and you will be able to go online and kind of see what's out there and what's available. You will be pretty much in class. You'll have a small little break in between. And then once you're kind of done with the day, you've likely set up some group activities for you to do. You either have club activities going on, something of the sort. Pretty much from 9 a.m. to 6, 7 p.m., you will have stuff going on. And then you're going to get so much coursework for things that are going to be due ahead of time that you'll likely always want to get a start on it. I'm somebody who's an incredible procrastinator. I'd rather wait until the very last minute to do something, and that just does not fly in business school. So your days are going to be super packed, but Yeah, we are at 1 o'clock. We're at a hard stop. Dang, there's some really great questions on here. I wish we can get to them all. But again, we're going to put our emails in the chat. So if you have more questions, please reach out to us. As you can tell, we love to answer questions, and we want to make sure that you feel as comfortable about the decision that you're making as we were. Because if you're not in this program that you're not happy with, you're not going to succeed, and it's all about us succeeding. So thank you all so much for being here. Really, really appreciate it. We hope you found this useful. And again, really hope you connect with us. Go Blue.
Thank you, everyone. This was recorded, so you get an email with this. So, and thanks again. Go Blue.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
No Go Blue? Damn, Russia. It could have been like a 3 for 3.